I'm pleased to say that the bee tree is back. Ignore that one because that's an imposter. That's a hoverfly, and it's a honeybee mimic. But I don't care what the bee tree attracts. The majority of what it attracts are bumblebees. And we have the usual selection of Bombus lucorum and Bombus hypnorum on here. I dare say Bombus terrestris is also visiting the bee tree, and it smells magnificent. And when you stood underneath the bee tree, it positively hums. I love this time of year when this ceanothus is out and in flower, and the bees come and visit it. Has the most delicate fragrance, valerian. Lots of people don't like it because it's so common. It gets everywhere and it does self-seed a lot. I love it, I must admit. And I've had to replace the old plants that I used to have. They just gradually deteriorated with age, and last year they were particularly poor, so they've gone, along with one or two other things. During the early part of 2025 I made a lot of changes to the garden, took out one or two bits of things and replanted with even more bits of things. Erysemum is one plant that I've gone mad with this year. I've used a lot, different varieties. Some I'm not sure, the yellow form, I'm not sure about that. It was well used by bees as a nectar source. Whether it'll chuck out any more flowers or not, I don't know. But the rest of it, like the one, the bulbous mauve, the variety, and some smaller varieties, are doing very well and are producing lots of flowers on a continuous basis. The valerian is just at its peak now. Valerian has always been a staple of this garden. I wouldn't have a garden or a window box without valerian, and say it's took some regaining a foothold, to be honest. New plants or seedlings from previous plants that I've had. We even managed to get the white form. Dillis and I were after that for years, couldn't get it for love nor money. And now I notice there's one or two plants of it starting to turn up, but we always wanted white valerian because we never had much white in the garden. I've got a bit more now because I've introduced plants like oxeye daisies, and now the white valerian, everything is just lovely. There's quite a variety of plants. I do have ferns in the garden. I like ferns. And of course there are bedding plants too. Bedding plants play their part in providing nectar for bees and butterflies. There's also ladies' bedstraw, which is a cracking size now, and at the moment is upright because we haven't had the rain. Maybe that may get visited by a hummingbird hawk moth. That's the reason that I grow that, but it's popular with hoverflies especially, and bees for the yellow flowers that it produces. In fact, there's a bumblebee nectaring on the valerian at the top of the garden there. But the garden is looking lovely. This is one of my favourite plants in the garden, and it's a magnificent thyme with variegated leaves. Of all the thyme that I've bought, and I've bought quite a lot, this is just stunning. times a very good plant to have in the garden for bees. It might not look it, but those flowers are packed with nectar and a great attractant to the bees. And herbaceous geraniums as well, something that I've put in for the first time. And as you can see, this bee continues to work its way around, are brilliant for bumblebees. And they flower a lot as well. So many different colours and varieties. And I'd wholeheartedly recommend these in any garden. Ideal for the small garden, but more importantly, ideal for the bees. I love valerian. I have a thing for valerian, and especially what it actually attracts. It's always been in this garden with one primary aim, and that is to attract the hummingbird hawk moth. We didn't get one last year, but there again, a lot of places didn't get one last year, and one has yet to grace the garden so far this year. Hopefully we'll get lucky and get one, but it has got the two colours of valerian to choose from. Lots of people don't like it because it grows everywhere and it's a weed, but it's a fabulous source of nectar. Whether it grows as a weed or not, it improves our streets and of our towns and cities, to be honest, by growing in places where other things won't grow. And who can deny that its flowers are absolutely beautiful, whether they're grown upside some building somewhere in the middle of Nottingham or any other city. It's fabulous, and the insects use it a lot. It's always been a big part of this garden, but I've increased the variety a lot now. I have gone quite mad with erysemum. There's a lot of those in, say oxeye daisy is another one, and it's a broad mixture. Viper's bugler is just starting to flower. The first flower spike is just towards the bottom of the garden, and I've got sort of 3 plants. I did lose one for some reason. I don't know what it was, but it never took and just died off completely. But on the plus side, I've now got lots of young plants developing from last year's crop, and I'm glad about that too. I've thinned some out, just leaving those to grow where I don't mind them growing. And that's a stunning plant and so good for bees. It's a must for any garden. And while we haven't had the heavy rain, everything is remaining upright. Viper's bugler can be completely flattened by thunderstorms, especially. I don't like thunderstorms. I like to watch thunderstorms because I like the lightning, but it's the effect of the heavy rain that can turn this garden from beautifully upright to a bit of a flat, bedraggled mess the following morning after a thunderstorm. This year, we're all right. Of course, the garden isn't just in the garden, so to speak. It continues down the narrow yard of this terraced house, right to the back door. Lots of colour provided by plants in pots. Petunias and Sophinias are kings of the realm here, but there are certain plants found in the garden which continue down here. Erysemum, there's 2 or 3 varieties down here. Nicotiana is a favourite of mine. Usually put in the garden to attract convolvulus hawk moths later in the year, but the trouble with bedding plants nowadays and summer bedding, the growers are making it earlier and earlier. So you have to buy plants about the middle of May, and then when they should be flowering late in the summer, a lot are now done There's a problem with gardening today. The growers are bringing things earlier and earlier, and they shouldn't do. And this is my little view when I sit having a cup of coffee or a pot of tea right at the side of the back door. You immediately hit flowers all the way down from the back door to the bottom of the small garden. I love this view, and especially when the bee tree is as blue and as active as it is today. Active with lots of bumblebees. The whole garden is active and becoming even more active now as we go into June. I like to sit here by the back door. I can look straight down the garden, straight at the bee tree, which, as you've seen, is magnificent. It's just a shame that you can't smell the fabulous fragrance. I can sit here, and if the wind's in the right direction, I can smell that scent as strong as it is. And it attracts the bees, say at least 3 species of bumblebee using that tree, honeybees as well. There's a couple of small tortoiseshell knocking around in the area at the moment, and they're visiting it too. It attracts everything, and it attracts everything from hundreds of yards away. This is like a beacon, it's like an oasis because of the nectar-bearing flowers that are here. So it just goes to show you don't have to live in some idyllic sort of village with a nice country garden or beautiful sort of suburban gardens. You can make the best of whatever little garden you have. It doesn't always take much money. You can scratch and scrounge plants from all sorts of places. And a lot of the plants that I use, they haven't cost me anything. Valerian, you can pick up seeds of valerian from pretty much any street corner nowadays, or any bit of waste ground. But I have spent a bit of money on plants this year, and it's money well spent, because you can go away for a holiday for 10 days or a fortnight and spend a lot of money on that, and yes, have a very nice time, but then you have to come back. But money spent on the garden, at least as far as I'm concerned, is money very well spent. It means that I can sit here and enjoy the garden pretty much 12 months of the year, but especially now we're fast approaching astronomical summer. It's an absolute joy to behold, and I love this garden, and I love my coffee too.